Προσφώνηση από τον Πρίτανη του Εθνικού και Καποδιστριακού Πανεπιστημίου Αθηνών, καθηγητή μελέτιο Θανάσιο Δημόπουλου.
Good morning, esteemed guests and colleagues. Over the past years, the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens has remained firmly focused on the forefront of science, research, and educational activity in the field of environmental and climate change. Toward addressing the modern challenges in the respective fields from a multidisciplinary perspective, our university has dedicated the year 2022 to the climate crisis. Part of our university strategic plans are the newly established Centers of Excellence. A Center for Climate Change Adaptation and Mitigation and the Center for Disaster and Crisis Management. These further reinforce the promotion and development of innovative activities on climate crisis and natural hazards, providing important opportunities for our university to lead such fundamentally important actions concerning environmental awareness. On that respect, the first MedCircus workshop and training school respond to the innovative actions of our university pertaining the study of climate change and natural disasters. As the Mediterranean cyclones constitute a major environmental risk and are often associated with hydrogeological hazards, understanding the science pertaining to these phenomena and improving our ability to predict their occurrence become urgent for the benefit of our society. This event, taking place in the premises of the National Kapodistrian University of Athens and with its full support, provides a unique opportunity for direct interaction between academics, researchers, and weather climate prediction scientists to accomplish an important goal that will establish fruitful future science collaboration and form the science objective that the community should pursue. The important role played by universities internationally is reflected in the Times Higher Education Impact Ranking 2020, the only global performance tables that assess university against the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We're happy to say that our university has been highly ranked in individual goals of economic and social development, confirming the significant impact it has as a university on improving social awareness, welfare, economic development, tackling social inequalities, education, and health. In recent years, our university has grown significantly as far as new structures and infrastructures. We are also motivated about the European Universities Initiative, and the previous month we had the honor and the unique opportunity to welcome here in Athens at the National Kapodistrian University, the oldest public university in our country and in the whole area of Balkans and Eastern Mediterranean area, more than 300 delegates for the Global Civis Days, a unique event for our outstanding coalition, the Civis Coalition. Civis objectives for the next 4 years are in line with the European Strategy for Universities. The Civis Alliance joins forces and invests in transnational cooperation to educate a new generation of European citizens on key contemporary challenges. The Civis Alliance joins forces and invests in transnational collaboration to educate a new generation of European citizens on the issues of climate changes and crisis. These challenges are reflected in its 5 interdisciplinary hubs. Among them, there is the Climate, Environment, and Energy Hub. Environmental sustainability within Civis has two facets: encouraging sustainable forms of mobility on one hand and green digitalization agenda on the other. Dear colleagues, I would like once more to welcome you to this unique event and to wish you a fruitful stay in our city. Thank you very much.
I would like to welcome you to our university, and I would like to invite the Vice President of the Department of Geology and Environment, Professor Simina Adanarag, and
thank you. Good morning, everybody, dear Mr. Rector, distinguished guests, dear colleagues. It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the first MedCircus workshop and training school. With no doubt, climate change is a security issue, but it is not a matter of narrow national security. Thank you. It has a new dimension. This is about our collective security in a fragile and increasingly interdependent world. This is likely to be felt through increased severity and frequency of hydrometeorological hazards, but also through changes in the distribution and nature of vulnerability and coping capacity. In recent years, climate-induced natural hazards, such as cyclones, floods, and droughts, have resulted in humanitarian disasters that have reversed years of development progress. And these trends, especially for the Mediterranean area, are likely to intensify in the future unless concerted action is taken. If local, national, and international actors are to successfully prepare for, respond to, and recover from weather-related disasters and reduce poverty, then tragedies and managing disaster risks and climate impact must be integrated into international development and humanitarian policies. Nonetheless, achieving an integrated approach is not without its challenges. Actually, this is easier said than done. Still, despite the challenges for integration, the broad scope remains, and a real need for more and better cooperation, as well as integration across disciplines stand out in order to achieve positive and long-lasting outcomes. And to this aim, I believe that MedCircus has an important role to play by establishing and fostering an extensive network of stakeholders, operational weather forecasters, and researchers interacting to each other. So, I would like to thank all of you for your participation, for your interest, and also in advance for the lively discussion that I'm sure you are going to have during the sessions and during the breaks. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Donarakou. Then I would like to invite Dr. Emmanuel Flaunas, who is the president of the Coast Action. Please come. No. Okay. The vice president. Okay. So the vice president is Dr. Silvio D'Avoglio from CNR in Italy. Thank you.
Where is full screen? Sorry. Do you know where is full screen? Because it's not.
It's PDF.
Yes, it's PDF. Manos idea. Okay, we can. Wait, let me see if it doesn't move. Wow. No? Yes, okay. Yeah, I will manage. Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm Silvio D'Avoglio from the National Research Council of Italy, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Cost Action. Manos will speak later on. And it's a pleasure to be here and welcome you to the University of Athens. I'm just spending some minutes to understand why we are here, so the motivation and where we come from. And first of all, let me thank all the people that work for this workshop and made it possible. So first of all, of course, the University of Athens and all the organizing committee, especially the local organizing committee, we did a great job. And then all the lecturers, all the invited speakers that are participating to the workshop, all the participants which are here today, and also the grant holder, which help us in all the administrative stuff. So I could start like once upon a time, in the sense that we have not discovered the Mediterranean cyclone, because Mediterranean cyclones are well known since the 1950s at least. And you can see in these manually drawn synoptic charts that the high frequency of Mediterranean cyclones was well known in these first studies. And these studies has been confirmed, let's say, and revised using the reanalysis data, different data set of reanalysis. And you can see here different examples of the use of this reanalysis that highlight the Mediterranean as one of the areas with the highest genesis density of cyclones. And the focus was also on the intense cyclones, of course, and you can see some happen on the right side, for example, and also on their distribution during the year. And winter is as we know, is the season which sees the highest frequency of Mediterranean cyclone. In general, as you can see, that Mediterranean cyclone shape the meteorology variability of the basins, and so, of course, also the regional climate variability of the Mediterranean basin. There are many other investigations I could show. Here is just some example because they go on different times, on different spatial scales, from the global scales to the local scales, and not only on the Western Mediterranean, but also on the Eastern Mediterranean, looking at the density, looking at the tracks, and so on. And okay, and I have to, well, our experience starts from two scientific program. I could mention many others which are still ongoing, but I choose these two. The first one is MEDEX, which was oriented to a better understanding and predicting of Mediterranean cyclones associated with high-impact weather. So MEDEX looked at the climatology, processes, forecasting, and impacts. And after MEDEX, we had HIMEX, which is not only focused on Mediterranean, but which includes studies on dynamics and processes with a focus on the peculiar feature of Mediterranean. And you can see in the picture right down in the bottom that in the workshop, the midterm workshop of HIMEX, there are two guys with a circle around, which are me and Manos, which at that time we were, well, we decided to start a sort of it was a science team in HIMEX, so a scientific initiative specifically devoted to Mediterranean cyclone. And then it starts and it became a cost action, and that's why we are more or less here. So we started from Greece, and we are in Greece again. So there is something in Greece. It's very important. Okay, just some science. I mean, it's Mediterranean cyclone include complex processes interacting, and so it means also challenging forecasting. To make the story very, very short, I mean, you have Rossby wave breaking in the Atlantic, you can have upper level disturbance from the Atlantic entering the Mediterranean and provoking the development of cyclone in Mediterranean, but then you have also a peculiar feature of the Mediterranean. First of all, it's an enclosed basin, so the cyclones are confined in a limited area, let's say, and also the orography, as you have seen in the climatological map, favors the occurrence of cyclogenesis in specific locations which are close and to the south of the orography surrounding the Mediterranean. So there is specific feature of the Mediterranean also in terms of processes like surface fluxes and diabatic processes that concur together to produce this complex phenomenon of cyclogenesis in the Mediterranean. And yeah, we are interested, and we heard before, because we are interested also in the impact of Mediterranean cyclone. We know that they are quite often related to heavy rainfall, but it's not all concerning rainfall. We have also flood and landslides, and the intensity of the cyclone can be directly related to windstorm and storm surge, but also to thunderstorm. You can see from the picture in the bottom, also to dust storm and so on. So the compounding effect can be something very important concerning the Mediterranean cyclone. And then finally, medicines, which is something I think most of the people here are interested to. So we will speak about medicines for sure in these 3 days. They not include all the Mediterranean cyclone. They are just a part of the Mediterranean cyclone, but very, let's say, sexy. And of course, they resemble in somehow the tropical cyclones. They are some aspect close to the tropical cyclone. We are still struggling to agree on a common definition of medicanes, which is something very important to start from. And that's it from my side. I will leave the floor to Manos for the rest of the presentation. Thank you, and see you during the workshop and the school.
Hi. So it's really nice to be here. So many thanks for being here, and it's even nicer that you are not little square people on my screen. So it's the first face-to-face meeting I had for a long time, and it's really nice actually to network all together, really face-to-face. So I will only speak about 5 minutes. I would like to make just a brief overview of where we started from the proposal level with the MedCircus and where we stand right now and where we would like to get to with this event. So many of you actually joined the cost action quite recently. So just a fact sheet is that the cost action is something that exists since the 70s. The most notable example is ECMWF. It was first started as a cost action. Participation is open to everyone, so it's an open club. Everyone is free to join us. And we will be running for 4 years, so we will end in October 2024. Until then, we have a funding that actually it's renewed every year. It's not a fixed amount. For this year, for instance, we had 160,000 euros to fund activities like this one. And more precisely, we can fund actually workshops, meetings, whatever meetings, not only small conferences like this one. Any dissemination activity, it means articles, collaborative articles, our websites, any graphic design, I mean, whatever it is for dissemination. Training schools, like the one we will have here, shorter missions, but what is important to retain is that we don't fund research per se. It means that you all bring your research activities and the purpose is to benefit from the networking that we can actually facilitate with this cost action. So on proposal level again, what we started with Silvio basically is 3 main axes. The first one is what you see in blue here. It's coordination of research. So basically, someone starts a research initiative, and hopefully this will develop to something, to a scientific result. We're very happy also to host brainstorming activities like meetings, whatever actually can advance indirectly the field. So out of these research initiatives, we hope that there will be new tools that will be developed and tools that we will actually apply for our stakeholders, and our stakeholders are mainly weather services. Either we speak of national weather services, either we speak about institutions, smaller institutions, and finally, all of these results, we would like to see them actually published either on scientific journals, either for outreach activities addressed to the open public. So all of these three activities actually are involved in 3 working groups. So you will hear more about the working groups just after my talk. So it's 2 working groups, one devoted on weather scales and another one on climate scales. So we're particularly interested on processes, but any activity actually it's welcome. And there is another one that's our fun working group that it's basically focuses on brainstorming activities, and it has to do with socioeconomic impact, something that has been largely overlooked in our field. Oops. So up to now, there have been several research initiatives that started 2 years ago, well, almost 2 years ago. They're still in progress. I can just speak of 3, let's say, achievements up to now. One of them is that we have installed a forecasting website. We collect forecasts from different institutions, and we try to compare them to see actually what is wrong with the ones that failed, etc. You will hear more from Florian, I guess. We produced actually a best track data set for the Mediterranean cyclone, something we'll publish quite soon, and it will be freely available for all of you so that we all look we do our research with common data sets. And we published quite recently a review paper in weather and climate dynamics, and in the end there are kind of guidelines about how we could actually advance the Mediterranean cyclones field as a whole. So we started 2 years ago, and this is a networking project, and we started during the COVID, so networking was quite hard, but here we are, and we're quite happy with what we did remotely, completely virtually. Hopefully, after the COVID limitations, we will be able to actually accelerate our activities. And this is one of the bets we have for this event here. So for the next 2 years, I just have I outlined 3 main priorities. The first one is to enhance collaboration with the other communities working on cyclones. And this is quite important because it's quite obvious that if we look into the papers on Mediterranean cyclones the last years, it's a closed community. So we need actually to connect also with people working on tropical cyclones, on the other storm tracks. Just 2 examples. For instance, you have 2 medicanes on the top of your screen. One of them, actually this is the temperature, one of them looks like, well, at least has the looks of an actual tropical cyclone, the other one don't really. So we have questions whether how we can actually define the medicanes, as Silvio said. So it's important actually to connect with the other communities working on tropical cyclones. And another example is, well, this is a typical picture of cyclogenesis in the Mediterranean. We are a downstream event, actually. So we need to understand better what happens upstream. In the North Atlantic, it's important also to connect with the people working on the storm tracks, the Atlantic storm tracks. The other priority I would like to mention is new initiatives. Actually, we have plenty of questions about Mediterranean cyclones. I have here 4 examples. Just briefly mention them just to show that there are many unanswered questions and quite important questions. Actually, we're so close to the dust sources in North Africa. You can see a cyclone here. Every time you get a cyclone that close to Africa, it absorbs like a vacuum cleaner all the dust from North Africa. We've seen in simulations that this actually can affect the dynamical life cycle, but still there is no really any result on this one. Even this one I have here, it's unpublished. It was shown in a conference. The other thing is that it's a small area, Mediterranean. We run very high-resolution simulations for forecasting, and we've seen, like in HIMEX, that you have important substructures, so very small cyclones that are embedded in the bigger cyclone. Again, no idea how they will affect the dynamics of the primary cyclone. And also about fronts, actually, there's not much in the Mediterranean, and here are 2 notable examples. I took this picture from a global climatology, and I zoomed in the Mediterranean, and it seems that 50% of extreme precipitation comes from warm conveyor belts, and it's something that we haven't really analyzed. There are very few mentions in our scientific literature. And I won't even mention stink jets like the one that caused some catastrophes here in the Black Sea. I can only find 1 paper. So it's important actually to look better into these fields that are quite more developed in other communities working in cyclones in other areas than the Mediterranean. And finally, what we would like to see is stronger interaction with our stakeholders, namely the weather services and even private entities. This comes from our website. This is the track of a Medicane, Ianos in 2020. It hit Greece. It caused large impacts, very considerable impacts. We've seen that basically other models captured well the track, others didn't. Why this happened? These are all open questions, and these are actual forecasts. So we need to interact with each other, the people who are charged with the forecast, to understand better why their models either fail or had a success for the wrong reasons. These are open questions, and this is what we hope actually to achieve here for the next 2 years. So with this, I would like to thank you, and we need to actually exploit the opportunity we have here and network a bit more and in a live way. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Plavnas. Yes. Now I would like to invite the coordinators of the 3 working groups of MedCircus. And first of all, Dr. Florian, who is the coordinator of the first working group.
You know how to put this full screen? That's a PowerPoint.
Let's not control L or F5 doesn't work.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Okay, then go to here.
This one maybe, or this one?
No. What?
This one?
Okay.
I think
You tell me.
we have to press this one.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you go to slide 2, please?
No.
What is this side?
I think no.
I just don't know on which one to click because I cannot read it.
Πού είναι η Μαρία?
Okay, no.
Δεν βλέπω, εγώ δεν έχω τα γυαλιά μου. Τα γυαλιά μου δεν έχω. My glasses, I don't have. No. Yes?
Yeah.
It's okay?
I just had to learn Greek very quickly. Okay, good morning, everyone. So my name is Florian Pantillon. I'm a researcher at the University of Toulouse, and I'm coordinating research activities in Working Group 1 about weather scales of Mediterranean cyclones, and I'm very happy to see you all in person today. So many of you I met many times online, so it's really great to see you and in this beautiful room. So before I present the activities, I'd like to present the members. So we did this survey in the beginning about the interest, the science interest and expertise of the Working Group 1 members. And one topic which is very strong, I mean, cyclones, of course, and the weather. But one important point is that most of us deal with models. So that's one of the keywords here. Oh, I'm not sure you can see it. Anyway, most of us must work with models, and many running WRF simulations in particular. Also, many working with ERA5 reanalysis data, for instance. We also see the precipitation keyword appearing here, so we clearly see the heritage, the legacy from HIMEX in MedCircus. So as Manos presented before, so there are 3 levels for each working group, and so from the proposal, so Working Group 1, on the research level, the idea is to better understand processes, but also with the idea of improving forecasts, increasing the forecast skill. Now, if we go to operational implementation, the idea would be to learn from this research and then go towards to provide guidelines to weather services, which are our stakeholders in this working group, to improve numerical weather predictions, and also toward the general public for the engagement and dissemination. We try to provide high-impact weather prediction related to Mediterranean cyclones. So that's the general framework of the Working Group 1. And now I'll present initiatives that have been going on or that are starting to give a short overview. So I start with this first initiative called DINFOMED for Dynamics and Operational Forecasts of Mediterranean Cyclones. That was led by Philip Chenderline at ETH doing his postdoc and myself, with the scope of developing a prototype website for cyclone forecasts. And actually, the workflow is already operational. There's also an internal website. And so here I took an example. So with this website, we collect every day the forecast from 8 different models, process it, compute different products, including cyclone tracts, hazard maps, and also some dynamical products. So you can see here an example with 3 different cyclones. So that was in March, I think, this year. You see 3 different cyclones, one of the western Mediterranean, one of the eastern, and one over the Black Sea. And you can see the associated precipitation there in shading and also an indication of associated winds and the intensity of this cyclone. So this is, so far it's present on an internal website, but you are very welcome to have a look at this website. And we'll discuss this during a parallel session, which is, if I'm correct, tomorrow at 5:30. So for all of what I'm presenting, we have parallel session for a discussion more in depth. The second initiative here is called a model intercomparison. The idea is to compare the performance of different models from specific case studies and to look for systematic response of different models to specific setups or parameterizations. So we've been leading this together with Silvio. And so far we focused on Mediterraneanos. We already heard about that hit Greece, in 2020, and that was at the beginning also of the cost action. So that was kind of the key case for this intercomparison. And in this case, we also have a lot of data collecting from different models, but also from very different setups of the WRF model that many people run. And we're working now on analyzing the dynamical processes to understand what happened in this case. So what is represented here, so apart from the satellite observation, is tracks using high or low resolution, and so you clearly see how this impacts the track. So this will be discussed today at 4:30. And there's a second part of this initiative led by Christian Ferrarin here. And I'm sorry, the title is very, very small. I don't know why. But this is about coastal impacts of cyclones. And this is actually based on the meteorological data I mentioned just before, but then applied or coupled with a wave current model with the idea of assessing the coastal impact. And so what is presented here is again for the same cyclone Medic Janos. And you see the evolution of the sea level. I hope I'm saying this correctly, for a station in Greece. You see the observation, how the observation evolved, but also how these different models at different resolution evolved. This has already been presented at EGU recently by Marco Baio. And again, so we'll discuss this afternoon. Now there are two more new initiatives. One is about StingJet, led by Michaela Brankoš. So StingJet, maybe not everyone knows what it is about. StingJets are transient mesoscale features characteristic of some intense extratropical cyclones. So what you see here is on the left-hand side is traditional evolution in surface charge of cyclones, so with the evolution of fronts. And what you see on the right-hand side is the mesoscale airflows associated. And there's a small one, I'm not sure you can see it on the figure, but there's a small one embedded between the warm conveyor belt and the cold conveyor belt, which is the StingJet, which is very local, which is transient, but which is responsible for some of the most extreme winds in extratropical cyclones. And these have been extensively documented over the North Atlantic, but over the Mediterranean, there's no study so far. There's one over the Black Sea by Michaela herself. And so the idea is to document the possible presence of StingJets in Mediterranean cyclones. And so we have a discussion about this at 5:30 today. And last but not least, there is a new initiative about data assimilation. So this is starting. So this is led by Dorita, José Edelstein, and Diego Carrio, with the scope of improving simulations of Mediterranean cyclones using data assimilation, with the challenge that there are few data available overseas where most cyclones, well, the most part of the cyclone life cycle take place, and so with the need of using different types of observations. And so this is new, so I cannot say much about it, but there's a parallel session also about this tomorrow at 4:30. Also to say that about these different topics, so some people will also present their own results during the scientific talks, in particular this morning. So to summarize, and here's the idea was also to make a plan for the year to come. For these different initiatives. So the first one is quite advanced, thanks to Philippe in large part, with this idea of having a public website. Now, Philippe has moved to a different position, to the German Weather Service, so we need a volunteer, we need someone here to take the lead of this, with the idea of further developing some products and also making what we have so far on an internal website available to the whole community, or the whole world if you want. About the second initiative, about the modeling comparison, so we have a lot of data, we have to advance with the analysis and work toward a paper, so that would be very rewarding to have a scientific paper from this initiative. From the coastal impact, which is somehow between Working Group 1 and Working Group 3, so I guess Christian will say more about his own ideas and goals, but I think a general point which is important is we need to strengthen collaborations between the working groups. And I think it would be a great added value also of MedCircus to go beyond just hazard forecasts that we do usually, like there will be like 72 millimeters of rain or whatever, and go toward impact forecasts to see, okay, what does it mean? What do you expect for your everyday life? And so we need to better connect between the working groups. For the StingJet, which is starting, this is also between Working Group 1 and 2 because it's about processes. Well, the first step will be to document their presence, starting from case studies and then maybe moving to a more systematic identification. And finally, for the data assimilation, I think Dorita's idea is to start with a review of the state of the art of data assimilation for Mediterranean cyclones. So there are many plans. One opportunity we have in MedCircus is that we have funding for short-term scientific missions. So So to go to visit someone for a few weeks, to go to visit another colleague, another scientist from a different country. And I think this is a great opportunity now to have this workshop, and in particular for the early career scientists, to connect, to see what others are doing, and to find connections. People think about people you could visit, or you could invite also the other way around, maybe also for senior scientists, to try. I just invite everyone to use these few days we have here to connect, to network, and to have this in mind. You can visit someone that is funding dedicated to this for collaborations. And that's it, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Florian. Next is Sira, Dr. Sira Raven, responsible of the working group 2.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for being here. I'm very excited to see you all here in this beautiful place. My name is Shira Rave-Rubin. I'm a researcher at the Weizmann Institute of Science in Israel, and I coordinate the efforts in the framework of Working Group 2, which has to do with understanding cyclones on climate timescales. So Florian talked about the weather timescale. Of course, we're interested in weather timescale. This is a weather phenomenon, but it has a large imprint, or it shapes the long-term climatologies as well. In addition, also longer-term processes affect cyclone behavior on the climate scale. So this is the theme of this working group. So as Manos also mentioned, I put it in the context of the original proposal. In Working Group 2, we coordinate research activities to better understand these cyclone processes. The way we implement them is that we use common protocols and assessment tools for climate simulations and long-term climate data reanalysis and future projections. We also aim to use this information and disseminate it to stakeholders and the general public with regard to future trends and current climate-related risks and impacts also connected to Working Group 3. So yes, as you already know by now, the way we implement these objectives is through research initiatives. And I will now, very similar to Florian, will just give you a short glimpse into a few of the ongoing initiatives in Working Group 2. So let's go straight to the first one that also Manos mentioned. This is an initiative. It's a MedCircus task team that was rather a technical initiative aiming to accumulate all the knowledge that we have from different cyclone tracking, identification and tracking algorithms and methods to have an agreed and reliable data set of cyclone tracks in the Era 5 period. So Manos and many team members contributed cyclone tracks from different methods with different configurations and put them together in a way that we can have information on the reliability of these cyclone tracks in the form of agreement between the different methods. So here you see an example in this plot showing tracks produced by different methods, and the black line showed the resulting product, which is the best track out of all the contributions. This very precious data set is now in submission, so please stay tuned for the official release. It will be openly available to all of us. Right, now we move to the second initiative. Also very much discussed is the definition of a Medicaid, which we don't have one so far that is widely agreed. So in this initiative that is led by Marcello Milieta, who will join us online, we aim to define a medicane. So all researchers working in this field come together with mostly online meetings, but also some exchange through the visiting program to discuss the definition that is based on the many aspects of the medicanes. Its dimension, the location, the dynamical evolution of the medicanes, the mechanisms that are involved, and also some characteristics that combine morphological and dynamical-based features. Once we have such an agreed definition, the aim of this initiative is also to compile a list of medicanes that will hopefully be very useful for many of us for further studies, such as diagnose them in climate data sets. Right now, an additional initiative is led by myself on Mediterranean cyclone classification. So here we aim to classify Mediterranean cyclones based on their governing processes. So there are many existing cyclone classification attempts in the last decades, but here we do something that is a bit different. We treat them all as one pool, and we now look at the governing processes, mainly in terms of potential vorticity dynamics. We will have a dedicated parallel session on this today with very nice first results. And the idea of having these different classes of cyclones is that if you consider, for example, the impact, they are not all the same. Of course, we know the medicanes are not the same as other Mediterranean cyclones. We have heat lows over North Africa that are very different from the general low that produce heavy precipitation and winds in other regions and in the Western Mediterranean. So here we classify among them based on the governing processes, and the idea is to then use these different classes of cyclones and their definitions to look at their overall trends, look at them in different data sets, also in future projections, knowing that they also have a different form of impact. Now we move to two initiatives that concern convection permitting simulations. So on the climate scale, this initiative is led by Ségolène Berthoud, where they collect different regional convection permitting climate simulations, so at least multiple years in each, and they aim to apply a similar cyclone tracking algorithm to diagnose them on these kinds of resolutions. So this initiative benefited from a short-term scientific mission, and we are currently looking for more contributions and actually some working hands to analyze the large amounts of data that were produced and also to chair this initiative. So please contact me if you're interested in this initiative particularly. And last but not least is a new initiative led by Manos Flounas, also concerning convection permitting simulations, but now coming from the weather timescale. The idea here is to collect many simulations of hundreds of individual cyclone simulations with WRF, having, if you see in this figure, it's a bit hard to see the cyclone track, and the WRF domain in high resolution, in convective permitting resolutions, follows the cyclone itself and resolves these processes at very high resolution. The idea is to collect many such simulations of many different case studies and apply diagnostics that are not easy to apply in ERA 5 or in post-processing, such as high-resolution trajectories representing mesoscale airflows. So if you're interested in this initiative, please also contact me or Manos. And the idea is to also provide, in the end, a huge data set that can then be analyzed in the framework of many different other projects. So if you also have ideas for how to use these data, this is also a great opportunity that will be provided in the next year. So to summarize, these are ongoing initiatives. You are very welcome to join them, even if you just see them for the first time now. You are invited to suggest new initiatives and analyze existing data from produced by these initiatives. For the next grant period, we hope to also apply these diagnostics to other climate data, but ERA 5 and regional simulations, the more widely known GCMs and RCMs in the framework of MedCodex. Largely speaking, we aim to provide protocols to assess Mediterranean cyclones in climate data. This is something that we always discuss in these initiatives, and the idea is to also provide priorities for improving cyclone processes and cyclone prediction at climate scales. So we really want your contributions. We have opportunities for co-leading initiatives and in the framework of understanding cyclones in climate scales, particularly concerning climate models. So if you're interested in this topic, we have plenty of opportunities for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sira. Next will be Anita Costa. So I was expecting for Ioni. Okay, so you're...
I think I can call you later if you like. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So good morning, everyone. My name is Samiro Kodayar. I am one of the leaders, together with Janilda Kushta, of the Working Group 3, devoted to the impacts of Mediterranean cyclones. And today, as my other colleagues, I just want to give you a flavor about what we do in this working group and how can you really help us to do our research in this direction. So really, within this audience, it's needless to say that the Mediterranean is a very attractive region because of many different questions related with its geographical location, the climate, and the cultural features. It hosts a lot of people, mainly at the coast, more than 500 million, that really growed a lot in the last 40 years, and this makes this region very vulnerable. It is a very sensitive area to climate change, and of course to the impacts that come with climate change, and is frequently affected by high impact weather that induce really detrimental socioeconomic impacts in the region. So Mediterranean cyclones are one of the phenomena that affect the region and really are responsible for a wide range of weather-induced phenomena. But one question is that the relationship between the cyclones and the impacts is not linear. So this and many other questions are still open and really call for extensive research. So given the fact that cyclones affect a large variety of socioeconomic sectors, this topic is really of significant interest for many different groups, like, for example, stakeholders or the general public. So in addition to cover the scientific research gaps that remain in this topic, there are many other aspects that we have to consider. For example, how to provide the most relevant information to stakeholders or to the general public. This is indeed a very complex question that is really under-addressed presently. So the purpose of gathering knowledge on the socioeconomic impact of climate change, we see it twofold. So for one side, we really want to advise decision makers on the difficult decisions for adaptation and mitigation to climate change, particularly in sensitive regions like the Mediterranean. And on the other hand, we want to contribute to create resilient societies. And for that, the important thing is to gather key information to proper training and education of society. So the aim of Working Group 3 is mainly threefold. So for one side, we really want to identify and set a scientific agenda for addressing new and purely understand research questions, of course related to the socioeconomic impacts of Mediterranean cyclones. We want to establish a coordinated network and interaction between researchers and stakeholders for co-definition, co-identification of tools or problematics that exist. And finally, of course, we want to efficiently communicate and disseminate all the information that we gather, focusing on researchers, stakeholders, and of course to the general public. So we see Working Group 3 as a flexible and interdisciplinary team that should be in continuous collaboration and interaction with Working Group 1 and Working Group 2. So at this point, I will give the stage to Johnny, so you also have the opportunity to meet her, and she will talk about the research initiatives that are going on and also the future perspectives that we have in the group, so you can start thinking how you can contribute in our activities. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning from me too. I'm Ioni Kusta. I'm a researcher at the Cyprus Institute, that is the grant holder of this cost action. Thank you, Samira, for the introduction and clarifying that indeed, as Manos said, Working Group 3 is flexible and interdisciplinary, Samira said, but I would say again, fun working group, because it's actually integrating why we do science. We do it for society, and in this working group, we have to define what are the impacts and how we can help by quantifying the metrics that are necessary to see what are the impacts of Mediterranean cyclones over specific countries or communities. So in that aspect, there has been a lot of meetings, many meetings on brainstorming, because we need to understand the level of maturity of specific scientific challenges regarding impacts. And after 21-22, so the main initiatives that are activated and are ongoing in Working Group 3 are these: Mediterranean cyclones and lightning, and this is led by Professor David Schulz. So this is a group of, it's very populated, more than 20 scientists actually, with expertise on convection and lightning activities in all aspects of that, from modeling to data assimilation and evaluation. The first official, let's say, lightning group meeting was last year in October, and this initiative is expected to lead to tools, so it's a tool and stakeholder-oriented initiative that could potentially, hopefully, homogenize lightning activity modeling and visualize, most importantly, the relative risk, because we need, with this initiative, to accommodate the needs of meteorological services and early warning system communities. The second activity that is ongoing is led by me. It's less populated and less progressed activity, and this is where I need your participation. It's the impact of cyclones on dust mobilization and transport. We have seen cyclones mostly as weather systems, but every weather system affects air pollutant mobilization, transport, and removal. And for what is more worthy discussing in this working group is that there is a two-way interaction between weather systems and chemical systems, let's say air pollution systems. So they both affect each other. Cyclone can affect dust lifetime and transport in the atmosphere, and dust can affect cyclonic dynamics in that aspect. So in this initiative, we want to see a couple of studies of cases of Mediterranean cyclones. Of course, we started with the most interesting one, that's the Ianos case. It was considered a high priority, but mostly because it coincides with available IFS data from ECMWF that have Aeolus satellite data wind assimilation. So data from this satellite mission have been assimilated into the IFS fields, and through another project that we had with ESA, the European Space Agency, we were able to see what is the impact of this wind assimilation in initializing meteorological fields and simulating such extreme weather events like Mediterranean cyclones. And of course, in turn, we saw also different behavior in the dust properties in the atmosphere. It would be really interesting, though, to see to have some evaluation with measurements in this initiative. So the third initiative is the impact of cyclones on the sea state and coastal flooding, and that's led by Christian Ferrarin here. It's very strongly related to the model intercomparison initiative. This is done in working group 1, and of course when you have some outputs from models, you don't want to use them for only one objective, you want to multiply the outcome of that. So it will, these different modeling systems, their outputs will be exploited in order to see the response of coastal sea level, storm surge, and sea state, the waves, to Mediterranean cyclones. And again, since it was more recent and more interesting in scientific terms and more challenging also to simulate, as a first step, the Mediterranean will be considered as a case study, but hopefully with the activation of course of the community, other events will be studied like Zorbas cyclone. And the fourth initiative, which is really progressing really fast and it's really important, and it's actually the manifest of Working Group 3, that's a review paper on the socioeconomic impacts of Mediterranean cyclones. This is led by me and Samira. Together, we are structuring a chain of metrics starting from the system itself, the dynamics of the system, the physical and weather components, and then the impacts, the impacts that these components are related to. And I mean, when you start from the system, you have to see the dynamics, and then you see, for example, rain, wind, sea level rise, and then you see what is the impact in terms of socioeconomic challenges. Is it infrastructure damage? Is it life lost? Is it shipping industry, accidents, etc.? And this has been quite challenging because most of the research in that aspect is not publication-wise. Published research is rather reports and studies done by national services. But I believe a really large group of people are currently contributing to that, more than 12, 15. So we have a well-received response from the community, but you are more than welcome to contribute with your knowledge, and especially if you are involved in work done by the national stakeholder, that's the meteorological services or insurance company in your countries. And I will wrap up with the future perspectives of Working Group 3. And as you see, an improved knowledge about the intrinsic relationship between the cyclones and high impact weather is needed. So most of you have read many papers on high impact weather impacts. But as the recent publication from Manos, from Dr. Flaunas that he mentioned before, the state of the art suffers from the lack of quantification, that systematic quantification of cyclones' contribution to high impact weather in the Mediterranean. So it's a subcategory that needs to be quantified, clearly quantified. And of course, there is a need to step from the hazard forecast. So we say, as I said before, we say rainfall, we say wind, we say gust, etc. But what does it mean in terms of impact-based forecasts? So this will cause, these high winds are dangerous, for example, to systems or to coastal infrastructure of that characteristics. And of course, everything is translated in financial losses, as you are well aware. This group is very strongly based on brainstorming, because it's not really well defined in terms of which direction we will take. Of course, as you saw, we have already clarified and defined a couple of directions, but we are really open to new research lines on these socioeconomic impacts of cyclones. And one really nice idea that started a couple of meetings ago was in relation wind and fires during the development of such systems. If you have any kind of contribution to that area, you're more than welcome to contact me and Samira, and we slowly start a working group and we develop further in that aspect. And of course, we do this, the impacts related working group has to do with stakeholders and their needs. But as a first step, we need to map the stakeholders, at least in the countries that are represented by you in this cost action. And furthermore, establish a relationship with these stakeholders, because we need, first of all, to understand their needs and then to collaborate with them in order to have an efficient co-definition and co-design with them of needs and tools for their respective applications. And I hope that the next big workshop or big meeting of the cost action will be a stakeholders workshop, not so scientific. And with that, I would like to thank you and wish you have a pleasant week here in Athens. We're really happy to see you live after all these online meetings. Anything related to the cost action in general as a grant holder or to working group 3 activities, please do not hesitate to contact me and Samira at any time. Thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you, Ioni, and thank you, Samira. I would like, then we will continue. And Marina, sorry. Sorry, it is not on the list. Margarita, okay. Dr. Margarita Liberato.
Maria, can you help me with this? Can you help me with this? I thought it was open here, but I think they closed it already. This is, no, this is yours. This is yours. No? No? It is on the desktop. Oh, okay. Here, this one. And now on presentation mode. Thank you so much. So, good morning, everyone. My name is Margarida Liberato. I'm professor from the University of Trás-os-Montes and Alto Douro, and I'm here on behalf of communication activities with Stavros Dafis. So, as you know, communication and scientific communication for cost actions is a fundamental. So cost actions is based mostly on networking, and networking is mostly communication. So I really would like to urge you to be here on the communication activities and to contribute to communication activities, since these are so important for cost actions and networking. So regarding tasks, we have already promoted the action among scientific community and stakeholders and the public, of course. And we want to communicate the results of the working groups, the results of our community's scientific results, but also to communicate these results among everyone on the society and disseminating the huge results we have for everyone. And of course, it's important to communicate our results both for the community and with plain language, so that all, both researchers and the public are aware of our results and the main science we do on the related with the MedCircus. So until now, we have been fostering the communication through the website, preparing the website, initiating the newsletter, the organization of the newsletter, and have prepared the social media accounts for disseminating all these results. We have already many interaction, lots of participation, and this is really one of the focus that I would like to stress here and take home messages, is that it's very important that you are included in all these different networking and contribute to them so that we have the largest dissemination possible of our research on MedCircus. We have been preparing, under the scientific coordination of Silvio, the educational videos that are already available on our YouTube channel. And additionally, we have scientific videos being prepared with 3D fields of numerical simulations, thanks to the collaboration of Daniel Carnival. So at this point, we have this tool that allows us to have 3D videos for every storms, every data, every case study we would like to highlight, and we would like to disseminate, and we just need to have gridded numerical results, like in NetCDF data or any sort of data that we are already used to using, so that we can prepare fancy videos with this tool, with Vapor. So these are all tools, both the scientific videos and the disseminating videos are already available on our YouTube channel. And it's another important idea that we want to transmit to you is that all these are very important tools to disseminate our research through the society, through other colleagues, and through young students, so that we have the tools. We just need to have your information, your collaboration, your input to have all these disseminating activities spread to the society. So for the next 2 years, we have the plans of continuing to improve the information for the website, and we are now under migration of the website to an upgrade to a new server. And we are preparing MedCircus public datasets to be further available for everyone to use. And we would like to continue to disseminate communication and publish communication results within a specific paper and training school. So for once again, my takeaway message is that it is very important that you contribute. You understand that cost action is communication, is networking, and all this is only possible with your input and your active participation. So if you have any collaboration, any comments, any questions, please contact us, me or Stavros, who is now leading the coordination activities. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. We would like to welcome you all for being here with us. I'm Maria Khadzaki and Elena Floka. We are the local organizing committee, so you can ask and come for us whenever you have any questions, queries about the meeting and about everything else about Athens. So please do not hesitate to contact. So a few information before we go back to the other side of the building and start our plenary sessions. We will have, as you can see, I don't know if you have seen yet, there is a link in the information leaflet that we have sent you in a Dropbox. There is a link here, you can see it at the end of this page, where you can find the 3 different venues that we will have here, and also some places for drinks and coffees during the lunch breaks, and not only the lunch breaks, but whenever you like. All these spots around this area. As you know, we are in the very, very center of Athens, so everything is very, very close. And there are many, many choices for you. So here you can see that we are in the main building, and we also have this building to the right of your screen, which is called Palamas. It's just a building across the street. So this is the one room that we will have for the plenary sessions during the afternoons, in parallel with the training school. I mean, some of us, you will be at the training school, and some of us will be at the parallel sessions. And during the lunch break, we will prepare a PowerPoint so you can see which initiative will be in this building and which initiative will be in the other building. So to know where to go and choose your session. And there is also one building, which is the library of the law school, where we will have on Thursday and Friday the training school. So if you're not for the training school, no worries, you don't have to find it. But I will give more instructions if you need them to the people of the training school for Thursday and Friday. Okay. And so about this building, we are here in this weird-shaped building, and we are in the down left corner, as you see it right now. And when we leave here, we have to cross the right courtyard, as you see there. I don't know if you can, no, you can't see that. Okay, and the amphitheater is at the back of the building there, the amphitheater 1, and the amphitheater 2 is the other back of the building there. They are interconnected, so you can go from one to another very easily. It's a bit confusing in the beginning, but you will find it. And so we will have now the plenary session in amphitheater here, but at the same time, we will have a live streaming with the plenary session in the second amphitheater for those of you who, who do not want to stay in the same room all together for safety reasons. So you can choose where to sit, and we would like to ask you if you like to wear masks, but this is your choice. And if you don't want to be very crowded, we can split to the two amphitheaters. We will have live streaming, as I said before. And you can ask us, of course, if you can't find your way. What about the internet? You can use either UOA web-only choice from your Wi-Fi. I suppose that UOA is not working for everyone. We will have a paper written in the amphitheaters to help you. This is the username and the password. If you have a DUROM from your universities, you can use it as well. But I would say you can choose UOA web only, and a browser will open, and you will use MedCircus and this password there. And if you have any issues, come find us, because I encountered some problems this morning. I hope they're over now. And last but not least, and let's say the most important thing is, do not forget, please, to sign for each day, for the workshop and for the training school, in both lists if you are participating in both as well, because it is very, very important for the cost to have your participation. Please do not forget to sign, okay? Thank you very much. Welcome again. And now you can go down the stairs, turn to the left, cross the courtyard, and go back to the amphitheater. Ella. Okay. Okay. Yota here is here. You can follow Yota. And excuse me? Yes. So, thank you. And for those that we have now a presentation at the plenary session, please come to the amphitheater and give us your presentation to put it on the computer. Thank you, and see you in a while in the backyard.